Welcome to the AC 24/7 Top Story Countdown. We'll guide you through the biggest news of the day. Our focus, advocating our rights, advocating equality, advocating health, and advocating Earth. Here's our pick for number 4.
8-year-old Mohammed is doing his daily chores, fetching water, collecting scraps of paper and plastic to start a fire, to help his mother cook their daily meal. But he'd rather be elsewhere. You think I like it here? Asks Mohammed. Of course we don't. It's terrible. I want to go home, where we had food and water. That buzzing comes from Israeli drones hovering overhead. They never go away. He's been deprived of his childhood, says his mother, Omar Day. He can't live like a normal child. He can't go to school. He misses his friends. More than anything, the children here miss a sense of safety. Overnight, Israeli warplanes struck the Yafa Mosque in Deir el-Belah. No one was there, but everyone heard it. In the camp, the best parents can do is keep the kids' minds off the danger. I play with them, I joke with them, and distract them from their misery, says Ahmed Khalid. When they hear the bombing, they're terrified. But there is no escape. These children have already seen too much. We miss our town. We lived well, says Jawahir. Now all we see are dead bodies everywhere. There are no basic services here. The garbage piles up in the street. Says Mohammed, we go from one place to the other, and they keep bombing us. Yet they still play as the drones buzz overhead.
TheAdvocateChannel.com looks at the world through the lens of equality and inclusion. Subscribe, like, and share now. AC 24/7's Top Story Countdown continues with our producer's pick for number 3.
Intense fighting and airstrikes were reported all over Gaza on Saturday. There were fierce clashes between Hamas militants and Israeli soldiers around the Jabalya refugee camp in northern Gaza. Towards the central part of the strip, airstrikes were reported on a building containing some 150 people, according to residents, many of whom had come from the northern part of Gaza to flee the fighting there. There were chaotic scenes as the bodies of the dead and the wounded were taken to a local hospital. But so much of the most intense fighting that we have seen over the course of the past few days has been in and around Khan Yunis, which is the biggest city in southern Gaza. Israel says that they are breaking through Hamas's defensive lines there, that they are going house to house. They are trying to encircle the city because that's where Israeli officials believe that many of Hamas's top leaders may be. At the same time, on Saturday night, the IDF issued what they called an urgent appeal for residents and civilians to flee 5 very specific parts of Khan Yunis. An evacuation order was given. The IDF saying that the Palestinian civilians should go to a 6th area that was indicated on a map. They posted this online. It is unclear how many of the civilians there have internet connectivity, how many are going to see this, how many know to check these Israeli channels. The IDF saying that they should evacuate to an area southwest of Khan Yunis to establish shelters. It's also unclear what shelters are actually there. Thousands of people have fled even farther south from Khan Yunis towards the city of Rafah. That's where there are shelters which are already overflowing. People are sleeping in the streets. There isn't enough fuel, food, or water. The Palestinian Red Crescent did say that around 100 trucks had crossed from Egypt into Gaza on Saturday. That is still below the average number of trucks that we saw coming into Gaza during that 7-day pause. According to United Nations officials, some 85% of the Gaza population is now displaced, and the Hamas-controlled Ministry of Health in Gaza says that 17,000 people have been killed since October 7th.
Like the Advocate channel on Facebook for the best way to get updated stories that advocate for equality, justice, our rights, and more. AC 24/7 continues with today's top 2 pick.
Well, it was a new but familiar anxiety in Ukrainian hearts after dawn this morning, where They woke to the news that 19 cruise missiles had again been fired against Ukrainian targets. Ukraine said it took 14 of those down, intercepted them, but we still heard reports of injuries and deaths in various cities across the country. Smaller numbers, and the Kiev capital essentially escaping unscathed with debris falling upon it. But the concerns here really are that the return of cruise missiles could herald a new Russian campaign against Ukraine's vital energy and other civilian infrastructure across the country. Remember, it was targeted intensively during the last winter to try and make civilian life unbearable here, and perhaps this use of cruise missiles, which many have suggested perhaps Russia might have a finite supply of, and Russia boasted it could make as many of us as it needed, that these cruise missiles may now be back in earnest. At the same time, too, this plays into broader Ukrainian fears, echoed potentially by a White House statement recently that if US funding stalled now on Capitol Hill and a congressional dispute doesn't keep coming, it may be air defences that suffer first, the air defences that keep cities like this, Zaporizhia, safe every night, often to great effect. The last announcements we've heard from the Pentagon was for $175 million, which is a paltry sum compared to the billions we got used to hearing being given to Ukraine or announced by the US almost every other week over the past year or so, feeding into a broader Ukrainian anxiety that Western support may be beginning to ebb to some degree. Russian President Vladimir Putin looking quite bullish, frankly, in the Kremlin, saying that he would run again to be president in March next year. Absolutely no surprise in hearing that announcement, but perhaps a surprise was in the statement he made suggesting that he had given the idea a moment's second thoughts, potentially a moment of theatre there, but it's been a very unexpected year for a Kremlin head that's faced down a Wagner coup and military setbacks here in Ukraine. But as we enter winter, it's Western support for Ukraine that looks less solid than it did months ago, and Russia on the front lines, seeing that some of their positions are holding. They seem to be experiencing limited but very costly success around the eastern town of Avdiivka. It's going to be a brutal winter for both sides. It may be very static on the front lines, but most importantly, I think Ukraine is very anxious to see Western support return with the same resolve that it's had for the past months.
Follow the Advocate channel on Twitter and Instagram to stay updated on stories that matter every day. We're now at our #1 story of the day. Take a look.
There's a multi-billion-dollar dilemma in Washington, D.C., and the clock is ticking.
Right now, the push and pull is really a political push and pull rather than anything else.
Negotiations over linking immigration and border policy changes to the emergency aid package are in limbo.
If I were a cynic, I would say that Republicans have decided to tie support for Ukraine to immigration reform because they want Ukraine aid to fail.
Last week, President Biden said he's willing to make a compromise with the GOP on border security, but so far there's been no sign of a deal.
It's not just Republicans that are holding a hard line, it's Democrats who are holding a hard line. Either side can move and can get this done.
House Republicans are demanding the Senate negotiated deal be similar to the H.R. 2 bill that passed through the House earlier this year. Many Democrats, including the president, say that's a bridge too far.
We are ready to pass a package that includes foreign aid, but to tie it to extreme Republican proposals around the border is absolutely wrong. And I think we're standing up and saying that is not acceptable to us.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is meeting with President Biden Tuesday. According to a White House statement, the two leaders are expected to discuss, quote, the vital importance of the United States' continued support at this critical moment. I'm John Lawrence reporting.
Thanks for watching the Advocate Channel's top stories. We're on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube. Follow, like, and share, or check out advocatechannel.com for even more stories that advocate for you.